In this video, I will discuss the importance of database security and what will happen if the principles and/or theories of database security were not followed by the stakeholders of a database implementation project. Database security is more than just important, it is essential to any company with any online component. Sufficient database security prevents data being lost or compromised, which may have serious ramifications for the company both in terms of finances and reputation. Database security helps companies block attacks including ransomware and breach firewalls, which in turn keep sensitive information safe, prevent malware or viral infections which can corrupt data, bring down a network, and spread to all endpoint devices. It also helps ensure that physical damage to the server does not result in the loss of data, prevent data loss through corruption of files or programming errors. As you will see, database security places an obligation on you and your business to keep sensitive data stored correctly and used appropriately. Complying with regulations and the applicable law not only reduces the risk of information being mishandled, but it protects you from both costly legal ramifications and lost customer confidence. Investment in database security will ensure you have done your due diligence in terms of data protection. Now, I will discuss various principles and/or theories of database security and the consequences if they are not adhered to. Compliance is an important part of database protection solution. This is because many of the regulations and statutes provided for with compliance address very real problems faced by enterprises and to which must receive due attention. It is an essential part of implementing IT security, but it falls short in that. Much of the regulations provided focus more on monitoring procedures as opposed to real-time prevention of threats to the database and system. As such, while essential, compliance is not nearly enough. A major component of compliance is an implementation of database activity monitoring. The DAM will identify every activity in the database, generating reports and necessary alerts about those activities. Compliance for each organization involves adherence to relevant standard bodies regulations, as well as any relevant international compliance standards. By applying DAM, you will be able to tell who is accessing the database, individual or entity, and why. Most standard bodies require a comprehensive reporting system outlining who or what did what, when, and why. Every database protection solution must therefore include tools that detect and alert the relevant admins about activities that deviate from the standard policies, organizational or otherwise, or are suspicious. Every database protection solution must therefore include tools that detect and alert the relevant admins about activities that deviate from the standard policies or are suspicious. Having alerts for suspicious behavior will help you to manage such issues in real time even if you have a DBase firewall. Monitoring should also include sins of omission. Examples include regular changing of passwords or monitoring individuals that have database privileges that they have not ever used. Information on lack of activity will help you know where there is proffering of excessive privileges so that you can revoke them before they are misused. Access control primarily aims at preventing malicious attacks and potential threats from within the organization. While there are instances of deliberate malicious attacks from insiders, more often than not, this results from theft of login credentials. By separating duties and assigning functionality and privileges according to user requirements, you can limit the extent of damage in case of potential or actualized threats. For instance, a user responsible for creating backup files to the database needs never see the actual content in the database. A tester will need access into the database, but not necessarily to actual data stored therein. In duty separation, you must give every user only the minimum access needed to carry out the job. By allowing every user to only carry out tasks under their jurisdiction, you can largely protect your databases from inadvertent as well as deliberate breaches. Every database protection tool or solution must include functions for separation of tasks with as large as range as possible of controls and privilege regulation. Apart from the inbuilt tools, the database firewalls should be able to detect what users are in the system, allowing even greater control over their privileges and applications within the database. Primarily, access to the database is through SQL commands, making protection against SQL injection attacks the most important form of protection to implement. Part of the database protection tool is a firewall with an effective set of predetermined SQLI definitions categorized as black or white list. You should also be able to customize your own policies for your organizational needs. In addition, you may implement the database firewalls, which are capable of learning your organization's needs and the database access behaviors, better defining their baseline and therefore being able to identify potential threats more accurately over time. Some companies may opt to implement vulnerability patching, which is essentially a mix of data masking and SQLi protection. When the database has been set up to be inaccessible, all vulnerabilities not patched will be more difficult to exploit. While very useful in deflecting many potential breaches, regular monitoring and updates of the software will help increase efficacy and increase definitions of suspicious behavior. Database administrators may need to use certain information within the database in certain ways, but they should not be able to view it. For instance, while the database administrator or remote database administrator must have access to the database in its entirety, there is not a need for them to view such things as sensitive financial data, customer names, user passwords, and the like. The aim of masking data is to garble up the data, making it unreadable when retrieved from the database. For further testing and development purposes, implementation of masking is necessary for any system upgraders, usually developers and testers. They need to access the entire database, but they do not need to see the actual data. Dynamic data masking allows users to use the format of data storage on the database without reading the actual data. There are different levels of encryption implemented for different levels of the database. For starters, you may apply an encryption tool to encrypt the entire database. This would protect the data from misappropriation, for example, in instances where an unauthorized party gain access to the physical data location. Only users with the encryption keys would be able to read the data. Another form might be to protect the database externally. For example, ensure that all data leaving the database in whatever format is protected from malicious access. Application of this is at the point of transportation through encryption of the transport channel and is important for every item of information leaving the organization. That's it for this video. I am Ivan Laksamana. Thank you for watching.